Hello all and welcome back. Thank you as ever everyone for getting in touch, sharing your thoughts and opinions. The best place to do so, comment section below. And if you have a longer story, maybe with some pictures, you can email hi@tuesdaytops.com. I'm going to start this week with Guzzi issues. Take a listen. Freddie, last year, now in my 60s, I bought my first Moto Guzzi after seeing the great reviews on YouTube and taking one out for a test ride. I love the characterful engine, i.e. the vibrations, the shaft drive, the large capacity fuel tank, and the gorgeous Italian styling. Within a short time, however, the starter button had begun to play up. This is a common issue going on the owner's forums. Not really acceptable for a brand new bike, bear in mind. Then, after that, the starter motor jammed, and then after 7 months of ownership, the front brake light switch failed. The dealer, who was 70 miles away, had a month-long waiting list before they could change it. So I went onto eBay, and for a tenner, I bought the part, and it was just a 5-minute job. Then, the left-hand exhaust started to have paint peeling from the top surface, and 2 weeks ago, I had new tyres fitted. And take a listen to this. When I went to collect the bike, the mechanic, who is a friend, says, "Dave, I have something to tell you." He had taken photos of the rear wheel and the hub was full of corrosion. The bolts on the bevel drive were seized and he had to heat the brake caliper bolt to remove the caliper because of corrosion. The bike is now 11 and a half months old, and this is the last straw. This is the straw, I should say, that broke the camel's back. I traded the bike in and took a hit of nearly £3,000. Bear in mind, this is over just an 11 and a half month period. So £3,000 hit taken on the new price, and with that money I bought a Suzuki GSX80, and I wish I would have done this a year ago. Japanese reliability and a 7-year warranty. Everything. Everything is better about the Suzuki. The performance, the economy, the handling, and the build quality. And that's from Dave, aka Welshman on a motorbike on YouTube. Dave, I had a look at these. You can pick up now. This is good value if you take away some of the quality issues, of course. 2013 model, Moto Guzzi V7, Facebook Marketplace for £2,995. And this is a really nice looking one. That is sub £3,000 for a Moto Guzzi V7. It is a lovely looking bike for the money. But this is even more interesting. Suzuki GSX80. This brand new, £8,300, and it only came out in 2023. So it came out 1 year ago, and this was named Naked Bike of the Year in 2023. But you can pick up a 2023 example with about 3,000 miles easily off Auto Trader for £5,500. That is nearly £3,000 off the bike after just 1 year. So they depreciate fairly steeply considering they've just been named as Bike of the Year. 800cc, 82 horsepower, and of course if you service it at Suzuki, you get the Suzuki 7-year warranty. So this is a really good bike. This is one that I really want to show you. I found an advert here on Facebook Marketplace. I think this is very, very tempting indeed, and a rare find. Sub £5,000 for Suzuki GSX80. Just 1 year old bike, £4,995. That is a £3,300 saving off a brand new bike. It's listed over a month ago, and this is why it's cheap. This bike, after being bought by the owner, just 3 weeks later, it was stolen, recovered, in immaculate condition. It's of course listed as a previously stolen bike, but now everything's sorted out and you can get one for under £5,000. There's nothing wrong with it. Listed as an immaculate condition bike. That is a phenomenal deal on such a good machine. Dave, thank you. Next up, a Californian dream. Dear Freddie, inspired by my 75-year-old father, Lawrence, who's been riding all his life. I took my test 2 years ago and I now ride a Royal Enfield Interceptor 650. Last week, I visited my dad, who lives in Spain, just outside of Torrevieja. He's lived there for over 20 years now and imported his 1996 Moto Guzzi 1100 from the UK. My girlfriend and I borrowed his California and took the bike out for a local tour around the area. The California oozes character and attracted attention wherever we went. Perfect for the open roads and smooth tarmac with little traffic around. And that is from Nick. First of all, that is a stunning looking machine. I remember when I saw one of these out in Tenerife. Our neighbour had one of these. He parked in underground parking. These look even better in real life than they do in the pictures. They've got a serious presence about them. They've never been big sellers. They're not big sellers when brand new, and they're still not even big sellers on the used market. For this model, they made it from 1996 to 2012, 75 horsepower, 251 kilos, and I believe these are all the 1100s. Tell me if I'm wrong. Fuel injected from 1996. However, in some form or another, the California's been around, I believe, since the 1970s. So this is a model with a lot of history. Take a look at this, Facebook Marketplace. 1997, Moto Guzzi California. Nick, you've got me dreaming here. This is a lovely one. In two-tone blue, £2,895, but listen to this, just backs up what I was talking about. Listed 5 months ago. These are not the kind of bikes that just any biker would want. You have to have a fairly specific style of bike that you like. It takes a little bit of bravery to go out and buy a California because they're not going to be known as the most reliable bikes or the easiest bikes to get parts for. But owners of these bikes, they absolutely adore them. 5 months it's been listed. Runs and rides well, good condition. Just 2 owners from new. And if it's been listed for 5 months, surely £2,500 may be possible. And that is a lovely looking left field choice. You see them so rarely. I think maybe I saw one the entire biking season in England. They're a head turner, they're a conversation starter, effortless style, huge fan. And I've heard the California, there was an American gentleman, he messaged me about a week ago, he said, "Freddie, what have you heard about the California making a return?" So I took a look, and if you go onto cycleworld.com, take a listen to this. Moto Guzzi California trademark has been renewed. Updated rights to the name in the US signal a return of the Italian cruiser. Continuing, the Moto Guzzi California name has adorned generations of bikes aimed squarely at the US market, dated back to the early 1970s. But since 2020, the name has been conspicuously absent from the company's lineup, following the demise of the huge 1380cc big block powered machines in the face of tightening emissions rules. But now, a new bike carrying the same branding looks likely following an application to renew Moto Guzzi's trademark rights on the name in California. Oh, that would be a fine sight to see it back. On now, tubeless tyre conversions. This is from the conversation last week about a British gentleman who bought a Triumph T120 Bud Ekin Special Edition. Stunning bike, one of my favourites. The only consideration, the only slight concern this rider had after buying his dream bike is that it's got tubed tyres. And this was such a concern for him, it did make him consider how he would be taking longer journeys on the bike. A little bit of trepidation in his mind while taking his rides, I think, if I remember correctly, through Scotland. I wasn't sure if there was anything to be made of this when he said, "Has anyone done a tubed to tubeless tyre conversion?" I got a huge amount of response from this, and I've tried to narrow it down to the comments, the insights that are the most popular from the past week. So take a listen to Rick's insight here. "Freddie, I converted the wheels of my Triumph Bonneville T120 to tubeless. It really isn't hard. I'll put pics up here as I discuss this. These are Rick's exact pics of the process, And on top of that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put screenshots of the parts that Rick used to do the tubed to tubeless tyre conversion, so you can tot it all up and see what it's like. But this is Rick doing everything himself. So it really isn't hard. Plenty of videos on YouTube showing how to do it. Also, I didn't even buy a proper kit. I made my own. The reason I converted mine to tubeless is because simply I got a puncture. Trying to remove a tyre from the rim of a Bonneville T120 wheel is not easy without tools. Fortunately, I have the tools in my garage, but I wouldn't have them with me when I'm out riding. And that's the key. If you're out riding, tube tyres are just simpler to repair, according to all of you, or the vast majority of you. Here's how it's done. I took both wheels off my bike. I then removed the tyres. I cleaned the inside of the wheels and I checked all of the spokes were correctly tightened. I then used a static wheel balancer to hold and rotate each wheel, and I filled each spoke indent with, pictured, 3M 5200 marine grade sealant. After that, once it had cured for about 24 hours, I sealed the entire inner rim with, again, 3M, but this time 4411N extreme sealing tape cut to the correct width. I then fitted an 8mm clamp-in type stainless steel tubeless tyre valve, then refitted the tyres after that. I ran them like that after doing that work for about 3 years until I eventually sold the bike, but they didn't lose a single PSI in that time. I've had 2 other riders saying exactly this, including a South African gent who takes his bikes off-roading out into the country in South Africa, and he's done it for this reason. If he gets a puncture out in South Africa, it's much easier to fix a tubeless tyre. He did this modification and he said exactly the same. He never lost a single PSI in pressure. So what have you got? You've got £37 for the tape, you've got £10 for the paste, and you've got £6 for the valves, £53 total. Yes, it's the time element, of course, and also you'd need the tools to remove the tyres yourself. However, if you buy aftermarket tubeless rims for the bike, that could total up to £2,700. So you can save a gigantic amount of money if you do it yourself, and it does work. Enough of you have said this DIY job works for me to confidently say, try it if you've got the time. And really, for £53, there is nothing to go wrong. You just rip it all out if it fails. Carrying on with this discussion, MHXD continues, Freddie, a road-only bike should not be sold with tubed rims. They're a death trap if you get a puncture at higher road speeds, as the tube tends to deflate much more rapidly. I've had this happen to me and it was, shall I say, interesting. Tube tyres are fine for off-roading, as you may dent the rim and cause a tubeless tyre to lose inflation, and on top of that you're usually going much slower. But tube tyres are pointless for on the road. Again, a couple of people have said that and backed up exactly what MH has said. Sarah shares another angle you can go down, which is actually changing the rims on your bike. These are her pictures included of her Harley Dyna. Freddie, just thought I'd drop a quick line regarding your comment about changing wheels to facilitate tubeless tyres. Enclosed are pictures of my 2007 Harley Davidson Dyna wide glide on the day I bought it, and then a few weeks later when I changed the wheels for alloy style. This is definitely a thing. I was checking online, you can easily pick up tubeless rims for Harley Davidson's £500, and a lot of people actually advertise the fact they're tubeless rims, meaning plenty of people are searching for this, and that is a great looking modification that completely gets around the issue without you having to really do any DIY work at all. Sarah, thank you for sharing that. On now to Malk, the default choice for budget mile munching. I wanted to share a couple of these to see what kind of bikes you're all out riding for longer trips. And this one comes up so much, but I haven't mentioned it in a while, and it deserves another mention. Pictured as I read it out. Freddie, I wanted to do a tour of the Alps, so I bought, what do you all think, 1996 Honda Pan European ST1100. It had been parked up for 6 years, and I bought it for the sum of £300. £300. I cleaned the carbs out. Yes, the carbs, put a new front tyre on, battery and a couple of bulbs, and then I put it through its MOT, its annual check. So we set off 2 up with camping gear from Hull to the Netherlands, then to Luxembourg, making the most of the free public transport. Then we went through France and over to Switzerland. We rode the most amazing roads, including the Grimsel and Furka Pass, and all the while being mesmerised, all the while being immersed in the most breathtaking scenery. All in all, that's 2,100 miles covered in 10 days, no mechanical issues. Not bad for a 28-year-old bike that was purchased for just £300 and left standing for 6 years, and with just a few bits sorted, the carbs cleaned, tyre, battery, bulbs. You can do a 2,000 mile on it, a 2,000 mile trip for a £300 bike. Continuing with Malk, safe to say the Honda Pan European is staying with me, already planning next year's trip. I mean, we know we can find these cheap. I've done some videos on these before. I think this is probably the ultimate motorcycle. Nothing will cover distances more effectively for less money than the Pan European ST1100. Nothing. There is nothing that can compete with this. I'd be fascinated if anyone thinks there's something better, but I really, hand on heart, don't think there is. And here's a perfect example. Not just a perfect example because it's a lovely looking one in that almost British racing green with 2 panniers and the back box with a huge front screen. So this is ready to go. Listed 5 days ago. £5 under £1,000, and have a look at this. Mileage of 93,000. It's even got the original owner's manual and the original bill of sale. It's got a fully stamped service history, tons of paperwork, all of the old MOTs. It starts on the button, good tyres, runs and rides brilliantly. You just cannot go wrong with that. Malk, thank you. On now to Gary and Joe. What bikes have 2 experienced road trippers picked? Freddie, myself and Joe are members of the IMTAR based in Malden, Essex. We plan and go on many UK and European motorcycle trips. This week we set off on a long trip to the NC 500, travelling from east to west, so the scenery becomes more dramatic as the trip goes on. Gary and Joe, they look so good, both with those circular front headlamps and parked up next to that Wrangler. What a beautiful pairing. And 2 bikes on polar ends of the opposite retro adventure bike segment. It's got to be about a £13,000 Triumph compared to £6,500 or £6,000 Royal Enfield. Almost double the price. Thank you for sharing those. On to Stefan. These are some of the most incredible pictures I've ever seen. Freddie, in 2022, I bought and apologies for my pronunciation, I think it's Puch. That sounds too stupid. Puch. Let's say Puch until I'm corrected. I bought a Puch 250 TF, which is from 1952. I think this is going to be one of the oldest bikes I've ever mentioned on the channel that's actually done a long road trip. I don't think I've heard anything older than this. Continuing, which I actually had imported from Sweden, because in Austria, they are, in my opinion, completely overpriced. So in Sweden, I paid €2,800, and the same condition bike would have cost me at least €5,000 to €6,000 in Austria. That's double the price. And of course, being in the EU, you can just bring it over. So this summer, after rebuilding it, I took it for a spin around Europe. Stefan, you make this sound very casual. Nice, relaxing spin. So went from Austria via Germany to France and then back over the Alps via Italy to Austria. I had a few issues that could be fixed on the side of the road, and it was a great adventure following mostly small roads. I have to say these are some of the most aesthetically pleasing series of biking images that I've ever seen. These are visual poetry. That is a can't find the words, but it's a staggeringly good looking bike. And with the backdrop of the mountains, European scenery looking so glorious. Stefan, what a trip. Also, that's, in my opinion, of course, I'm sure you know what you're doing, but that's incredibly brave to take a 1952 bike and succeed at the adventure. I tip my hat. On to Chris, 23,000 kilometers around North America. And this is my bike of the week. Freddie, I got my license 2 years ago after a bit of a scare with leukemia. I'm 62 years old now, and I emigrated to Canada in 2002. So in June of this year, I set off from Nova Scotia on the east coast of Canada to tour the country. Having ridden up to the Arctic Circle, passed through Alaska on the top of the world highway, and visited most areas in Canada, I returned to Nova Scotia with over 23,500 kilometers, and 2,000 kilometers of those were on gravel on my 2021 Honda CRF 300 Rally. I made the trip in aid of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society of Canada, and if I get monetized on my YouTube channel pictured here, all of the money raised from these videos will go to the LLC charity. That's the Leukemia Lymphoma Charity. I assume that's what the last C is. Regards, Chris. Chris, what a superbly inspiring adventure. Canada it looks like a genuine wilderness for every single mile of the way. I believe this was Itchy Boots' last bike before she got rid of it and moved, funnily enough, to a 1987 very simple carburetted bike, Yamaha Tenere 600. But this was the bike she had before, so proven reliability, ruggedness, everything you'd expect from a Honda. But the reason I wanted to give this as bike of the week is because it seems to be the exact perfect balance if you want to genuinely just travel around the world. It's got everything needed. It's, in new bike terms, simple. It's light, so you can lift it up if you fall over. It's rugged, it's dependable. It's the kind of bike that can be fixed anywhere, that anyone in any little town that you pass by should have a very, very good chance of fixing. And my guess is that's why Chris and also Itchy Boots, Norley, have picked them as their bikes. I think the only problem that Itchy Boots had was an ABS sensor that kept going on. But apart from that, I think it was pretty good. Listen to this on Honda's webpage. Choose your destination. Made for the adventurous dual sport rider. The new CRF 300 Rally is a small capacity machine packing serious credentials, with styling drawn directly from the competition specification. HRC CRF 400 Rally, it adds, on top of that, long range ability and comfort to its off-road performance, thanks to a large fuel tank and wind-cheating nose fairing and screen. Now lighter in weight with more power and more torque from its engine, the CRF 300 Rally is the perfect travelling partner, whether around town or around the world. I mean, this really is a bike that makes a huge amount of sense. Came out in 2021, 27 horsepower. Just 153 kilos, that is a proper lightweight. Coupled with that, the fact it's got a 200-mile tank range, brand new at 6,579 pounds. Is impressive the wrong word, but they're just the figures that you look at and you just nod away thinking, yep, that's about the right type of bike if you really want to be able to take it anywhere, including some pretty tough off-roading things or off-roading tracks. The problem with it is, may well be part of Itchy Boots' influence. Yes, they're £6,500 brand new, but my lord, do they hold their value ridiculously well. 2021 model for these. This is 3 years old, and it's only £2,000 cheaper than buying one brand new. There's such a tiny difference. You're almost just better off buying it new because you get all the warranty. But here is one. Second-hand, listed 29 days ago, reduced from 4,650 to 4,350, 7,000 miles on the clock, and it's good to go. Just fitted, new chain, sprockets, etc., etc. Comes with genuine servicing parts, good tyres, yada, 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 but £4,300. And if it's good enough for Itchy Boots, then surely it's good enough for all of us. And I'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much everyone for watching. Have a brilliant week all, and I'll see you all in the next one.